Hi, I'm Lynell. Welcome to part 2 of Art and Horror Movies. I happen to be an artist who loves horror movies, so I thought it would be fun to talk about movies that revolve around artists or works of art in the horror genre. If you haven't seen part 1, be sure to check it out. It's fun. We talk about 3 movies that touch on art students and art schools somehow related to those things, as well as the splatterpunk classic Bliss. Be sure to check that out, but you don't need to have seen that to enjoy this video. We're going to continue with working artist movies, as well as getting into movies that touch on the art industry as a whole. And it's going to be fun and interesting and hopefully amusing. And yeah, let's go. Next, let's talk about The Devil's Candy, a 2015 film directed by Sean Byrne. This film follows an artist, Jesse, and his family as they move into a home that had been occupied by a family that was killed by their son, who is still around at large and failing to keep himself from continuing to kill as a serial killer.
We come to the place where we joke about the idea of the devil. But that is Satan's lie, to distract us from the reality of who he is.
There are evil influences that affected the killer that are now starting to impact Jesse, who's been struggling with feeling stuck, making uninspired commissions. And what's more horrifying to an artist than painting work you feel nothing about?
Mom said you have to hurry.
Hey.
Is that the thing for the bank?
Yeah, that's a commission.
Butterflies? So not metal.
He starts channeling imagery shared with the serial killer. He starts hearing evil voices, implying the devil. His paintings become dark and disturbing, and he paints in a state where he loses time and blanks out, a lot like Bliss. There are strong family drama elements in the film. The killer seems sometimes innocent. He appears to be maybe mentally stunted, but he is also overtaken by the voices and becomes pure evil. There comes a choice where Jesse can neglect his family to the point of losing them and sell his art, or reject the opportunity for success and protect his family, quite literally from mortal danger.
To sacrifice.
He will slither into your soul.
Temptation is literally the devil as the art dealer. So art or family. And letting habits or work affect relationships is not a situation that is particular to artists. It could be any person getting lost in their work, their vices, addictions, or otherwise, and letting it affect their relationships. So this film touches on the ideas of selling out and the cost of success. Great use of imagery to convey threats, insanity, etc., which is exactly what you want in a movie about art. Psychological horror, good versus evil.
I need to come home now.
Next on to Deep Dark, a 2015 film directed by Miguel Medaglia. Medaglia. An aspiring but talentless and broke sculptor, Herman, is willing to try anything to be a successful artist. His mom is renting out his bedroom, and he's broke, so he reaches out to his uncle, who has apparently had some artistic success, who rents him an apartment space to be able to focus and work in. This leads to him collaborating with a hole in the wall. You heard that right, a hole in the wall. And if you were going to make a joke about a glory hole, you won't be disappointed. The movie beats you to it. Yeah, we go there.
That is so awkward to watch.
So Herman is desperate for approval from specifically local gallery owner Devora.
Art is terrible. Please don't buzz me again.
And while he's happy to get what he wants from the hole in the wall, he's clearly going to manipulate the poor lonely hole to get what he wants and drop her as soon as he has used her for what she can give him. There are themes of using, stealing, manipulating people in the context of personal and professional relationships.
Who are you? I'm the source of Herman's inspiration.
And with the hole in the wall, manipulation goes both ways a bit. To try to keep a partner out of loneliness and desperation, to the artist saying and doing anything to get what he wants before abandoning the one he used.
What about us?
What about us?
gaslighting, love bombing, demeaning, jealousy. In the end, really, Herman is more the villain than the hole in the wall is a monster. The drive for success can lead to desperate and awful acts, including stealing, cheating, and fraud. Artist egos and self-delusion and the idea of being entitled to success isn't far-fetched. Have you not met people that have felt that they should be recognized for their brilliance, even though they never really put in the work to take a fair shake at making something good?
Because I am better.
At what?
Everything.
Here, the question is, what happens if that person or people go from being simply eye-rollingly obnoxious to being straight-up harmful? Next, we're going to talk about movies that delve into just the art world in general, art as a commodity, or the vapid BS of the art world. So we'll start with Bucket of Blood, 1959 Roger Corman film. This movie was filmed in 5 days for $50,000 as a challenge, which is the most Roger Corman thing ever.
I've directed, I think, around 60, maybe 59, something like that.
How many movies have you produced?
Now, that's a question I've been asked, and I don't know, because I think it's around 350.
A Bucket of Blood satirizes beatnik culture and the art world.
Where are John, Joe, Jake, Jim, Jerk? Dead. They were not born. Before they were born, they were not born.
It touches on the Lynx, an artist played by Walter Paisley, a hapless busboy.
Are you a painter?
Well, no, I'm working on something that's not ready yet.
What is it, man? Finger painting?
Will take to hold on to buzz and fame and success when it falls into his lap. It's similar to Deep Dark in the theme of a talentless artist willing to do crazy things to hold on to the clout. The original Bucket of Blood from 1959 is a fun little romp. It's black and white. It moves along at a steady pace. It's funny. It's cringeworthy and sad, and actually kind of has a little bit in common with Little Shop of Horrors, a movie made around the same time. Also another Roger Corman challenge, make a movie in 2 days kind of film. Now, come 1995, and we saw a remaking of A Bucket of Blood, which was also called The Death Artist, a made-for-TV movie. This one was directed by Michael McDonald, and it has exactly the same story, just a different era, with Gen X hipsters instead of beatniks.
I'm sure you noticed on the right a small plaster figure, and assume this transfixed effigy to be the work of a master sculptor. Indeed it is. And that bright new creator is in our midst. It's none other than Walter Paisley, our very own busboy.
It stars Anthony Michael Hall and has Will Ferrell in his debut role.
Do you like my cat?
Yeah. It's like out there. You understand what I'm saying?
Next, we have Velvet Buzzsaw from 2019, directed by Dan Gilroy. It's a satirical horror based in the contemporary art scene in LA, touching on artists, galleries, collectors, art critics, and expos. The satire leans in hard with comedic stereotypes that I kind of love for what it's picking at.
No originality, no courage. My opinion.
I can't save you.
The pretentious art gatekeepers, the tryhards, the weird, seemingly insulated microcosm of the blue chip art market. We've got great characters and great actors, such as the art critic Morph, played by Jack Gyllenhaal, Rodora, the sellout and artist rep, Josefina, Rodero's assistant, Gretchen, played by Toni Collette, the museum curator and art advisor, Pierre's, played by John Malkovich, who's an established artist.
This is a slaughterhouse.
Deese, a deceased unknown artist who it turns out was incarcerated and experimented on as criminally insane after torturing and killing his abusive father. Everyone who tries to profit off of Deese's paintings dies.
There is some sort of power.
Turns out that he painted with his own blood, and his paintings start to enact their violent revenge for being turned into commodities against his wishes. Does money destroy art in a way in which they truly cannot coexist? What is art for? At one point, an opportunistic Josephina asks an artist, "What is the point of making art if nobody will see it?" Hello, Instagram culture. The survivors end up being those that rejected commerce for making art for the sake of creating, or were not directly involved in profiting from the art. The art being created by peers in the sand in the last scene, being washed away as he makes it with no audience, really drives home the point of the importance of creating just because you are human, not to sell something.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
The idea of selling out is an interesting cultural touch spot that peaked in the 90s. It became a big sensitive spot for artists for a while. Less so now, in a spot of culture where we seem to worship the side hustle. But it's an interesting question to turn over. Is there a difference in credibility of an art form if it's made for a market? If it's made to sell something, either itself or otherwise? Where does someone go from a reasonable desire to make a living to being gross and problematic? Can you imagine what your own line in the sand would be? Life is hard, bitches. Gotta pay the bills. But how much are you willing to compromise on your own values and integrity? Other worthwhile mentions, End of Term. I actually thought it was going to be a remake of Cellar Dweller for the first half. It goes on into the suffering for your art territory, but makes it, I'm going to make you suffer for my art. It's not very good. Stop motion. If, like me, you find some inherent creepiness to stop motion animation, this movie takes it to another level. It's about a stop motion animation artist whose sense of reality really starts to be blurred with her own artwork. It's visually really cool, and it's just a great little creepy movie. There are so many absurdist stereotypes, but what does it say about artists and the schools, students, and professionals working in the industry that there are so many extremely sad stereotypes? One thing is for sure, they make for pretty decent horror movie fodder. One question after all of this, is art dangerous? Why would we fear art? Is it that it can reflect something uncomfortable? Is it the insecurities that come with the desire to create? Are those that create really so weird and other that they are unrelatable as human beings?
I want to remind us all that art is dangerous.
That's right.
I want to remind you of the history of artists who have been murdered, slaughtered, imprisoned, chopped up, refused entrance. The history of art, whether it's in music or written or what have you, has always been bloody because dictators and people in office and people who want to control and deceive know exactly the people who will disturb their plans.
That's right.
And those people are artists.
For some, the act of creation can be personally destructive. But would those people do personally destructive things, whether they are creating art or not? For those that succumb to the extremes of such self-abuse, is it that they are struggling as artists, or is it the personal turmoil that can accompany the trappings of fame? For many artists, they are indeed compelled to create for reasons they may not entirely understand. Are we getting our demons out? Using the canvas to process the world inside and outside that we struggle with? Perhaps some of these things go back to the stereotype of the tormented artist. This is an idea I've been fascinated by. But there's a lot to unpack there, and I am planning to dig into that in another video. In the meantime, if you have a favorite art-themed horror movie that I missed, share it in the comments. I'm always looking for some good ones to check out. If it isn't on my radar, I want it to be. Then pop some popcorn and enjoy a spooky film for me. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, if you haven't seen it yet, to check out Chapter 1 of Arts in the Horror Movies here. Or if you've already seen it, there's always plenty more of my cringeworthy and embarrassing content to check out for yourself. So enjoy, and I'll see you next time.
Oh, I'm also... Cool.